Welcome to r/surviving infidelity. Sorry in advance. This story is kind of a long one, but very worth it. Here it is. My boyfriend cheated on me and got the other girl pregnant. And now they're together. My boyfriend, 26 male, of 3 years cheated on me, 28 female, and he tried to hide it over and over, despite me having proof and confronting him about it. Actually, he was the one who initiated breaking up, but he told me a different reason, and up to this day he could not face me and own up to how he ended up cheating and got the bleep pregnant in the process. I never thought I would be cheated on, and this guy had been cheated on badly by his ex-girlfriend before me. At the end of it all, I saw him for what he really is, manipulative in his ways, a pathological liar, a toxic narcissist, and an immature scum of the earth, who will never be satisfied. First, let me tell you about how our relationship was from the get-go. I met him at a time that he was sleeping around and not taking girls seriously, that is blank buddies, flings, friends with benefits. He did this for about 2 years as a way to cope with his breakup from his ex of 3 years, who had cheated on him. His life crashed. He flunked his classes on his 4th year of mechanical engineering, but got removed from his program and didn't tell his family that he had to transfer to another degree program up until he graduated. He looked at himself as a lost cause. And then we met in 2017. I was a newly licensed medical doctor at that time, trying to meet people to widen my circle. We started dating, and he became honest about his past with blank buddies, and how he was a player, though he never cheated. He was usually always in it for the thrill, and the ego-boosting effect of being a serial dater, likening himself to be Barney Stinson, of How I Met Your Mother. I, on the other hand, didn't have much of a remarkable dating history, where I've only been in almost relationships, and one committed relationship before him. I wasn't the type to sleep around too. I just wanted to meet people and try my hand at dating again then, after being in an almost relationship. So I was new territory for him. We hit it off, and he stopped having blank buddies about a month after he met me. He poured himself onto me, declared that he wanted to deserve me, to be better for me, and that he realized that it's time for him to stop being a player because he was falling for me then. And I saw that, and truly felt that he did. His family saw the changes in him too, and bugged him to let them meet me, as they wanted to meet the one who made him change his ways. They were intrigued too, with me being a doctor. My boyfriend at that time was still finishing up his last 2 years of college, 7th year in college. 5 months into the time that we were dating, his mom had kidney failure and suddenly died. He was devastated, and for some reason his mom's dying words included me. She told him to court me properly, to finally commit to me, and that she wanted me to be the girl for him. She wanted him to get his crap together and be a good man for me. His mother didn't get to meet me, but as she heard stories about me from him, I guess she became enamored by me. I took her word seriously when my boyfriend told me about it, and from then I stepped up further to be by his side no matter what. I met his whole family for the first time at the wake of his mother, and I felt sorry that I had to meet them at a time that they were devastated, though at the same time they were thrilled to have finally met me. By some twist of fate, our families were actually family friends from the past, and we only knew when our families further got to know each other. My boyfriend and I felt our union was truly fated, and his family became close to me from then on. His grandfather even swore at his mother's burial that he can never cheat on me and whatnot, because it would be a disgrace to his mother's memory. Few months after his mother's death, he spiraled into depression, saying he wanted to give up. There were times that he was clingy with me and wanted me to be around him all the time, and then there were times that he tried to push me away, didn't talk to me for days, and at one point tried to end things with me because he felt too depressed. I tried my best to be with him as much as I could, watched him play basketball after my clinic and hospital duties, went on day trips with him and his family to help him cope with the pain, stayed late at his house on some nights to sleep with him and spend time with him. His love language too I knew was receiving gifts and acts of service. so I gave him random gifts every now and then to cheer him up. We got through his phase of depression, even though I admit it was emotionally challenging and felt toxic for me at that time to be treated by him like that. His family also convinced me to stay and that him losing me might make him bury himself deeper into depression without him knowing it. We were happier and our relationship got stronger after that. Around a year of being together that way, we finally decided to make our relationship official in front of family and friends. This happened on my birthday. Oops, red flag there. Don't have your relationship anniversary on either of your birthdays, because trauma might tag along. His family was more than thrilled, and my family was too, because they knew how long I haven't been in a relationship then, and we were both happily in love. Fast forward to our years together, we had maybe once a month fights, but nothing that lasted for days. He was toxic. When he was mad, I became a punching bag for his words, albeit they were hurtful. I had the tendency to be passive aggressive, but I always made it a point to avoid hurtful words against him. There were times that he said I was boring, or that I was too serious, while he on the other hand was playful, or had the tendency to attack other people's characters. I always spoke my mind, and sometimes it hits his nerves. By the end of our fights, we would both be sorry, and he would always take back what he said, and that he was just angry. That's why he would say hurtful words to me sometimes. I felt verbally abused when we fight, and I tried to convince myself that he really didn't mean them, and that he was only driven by emotion. When I look back at those moments, it is indeed true that a partner's respect for you shouldn't go away when the two of you are arguing or fighting. To add to that, my love language was words of affirmation, so his hurtful words really stung. I was scarred, and those scars got healed, because I willed myself to heal through time, and tried to focus on the times I felt that he loved me. It's a good thing that we didn't become physical when we fight through the years that we were together. But him being hurtful during our fights was a red flag of him being manipulative, a gaslighting narcissist. I accepted that side of him, and eventually I was able to handle our fights with less impact, though I still felt like crying every time we fought. He was always the one to offer that we break up when the fight gets too intense, but when the emotion dies down we both apologize and make up, and we get back to our good days. I assumed our love was stronger every time we got through fights. He showed his love for me by doing errands for me and with me, cooked for me when I stay over at his house, took care of me when I was sick or just tired. He did all of this in front of his family, and in his own words, treated me as if I was his wife already. His family regarded me as his wife already too, thinking I finally was the one for him all this time, after all of his freaking around. He didn't have a job yet, as he was focused on finishing his last year of college. Career-wise, yes, I was ahead of him, and there were times that I had to spend more for the both of us, and he was aware of this too. His family and friends told him he was lucky to have me, and that he hit the jackpot. A loving girlfriend with financial and mental stability, and being a doctor is always a blessing. I focused on the so-called 80-20 rule most of the time, and it didn't help that his love language was receiving gifts. I admit that there were times that I spent more on him than I usually spent on myself, but his happiness for me was worth it every time. Little did I know that this too was a red flag and would be a foundation for abuse. I loved the way he cared for me, and with what little money he did have, he did shower me with gifts too, even though I rarely ask him to buy me stuff, because I tend to buy things on my own instead. He even bought me a stethoscope and some other luxury items. We shared trinkets and charms, matching St. Jude pendants we had blessed at his mother's funeral. He gave me a promise ring too. We wrote love letters for each other, lots of them. He went on surprise visits when I would be on hospital duty. We were each other's first thoughts in everything that we did, or so I thought. Our relationship continued to flourish emotionally, and the sex was great too. Sex was great to the point that, if I were to end up pregnant with him, both of our families greatly looked forward to it. However, we decided to be on the safe side, and I put myself on birth control consistently so that we would be safe every time, with or without a condom. Disclaimer: during his life as a frig boy, he did practice safe sex. He dreamed of having a baby with me though, and he told me himself that, if it were to come despite us being careful, he would be more than happy to have that life with me. I looked forward to having a baby with him too, but I knew he still had other dreams. To finish his double degree, and to be able to focus on building his career as a soon-to-be engineer, and that was the reason that we decided to be careful, but at the same time we enjoyed sex. Fast forward to early this year around January, so by this time we've been together for 2+ years. I randomly viewed his Instagram profile, and see a picture with him tagged. I saw him sitting with a girl, and her family, in a sort of romantic cutesy pose. I was shocked, and tried to search the girl's profile, which was on private. He wasn't replying to my messages at that time, because he was at a basketball game. I tried to contact his sister, if they knew who the girl was, and she was shocked too, and didn't know the girl. She advised me to talk it out with him, and confront him. I confronted him about it calmly, and I asked who the girl was. He denied having any relationship with her, and that he was just invited by his friend to pose with her, because she didn't have a partner. That they were just friends. He was sorry, and I forgave him. But at the same time I reminded him that in the presence of other people he should act like he has a girlfriend, even if he doesn't know a picture of him will be posted for people to see. And that if he cheats on me, I would leave him then and there. And he reassured me over and over. His sister talked to him after that, and he reassured his family too, that he wouldn't do that to me, because in his own words, I loved him at his lowest point, and that he loved me so much. I gave him the benefit of the doubt too, because I knew that he knew the feeling of being cheated on, with what his ex-girlfriend did to him. And I emphasized that to him too, so as to set my boundaries further. But I never forgot the girl's name, and I kept tabs on her afterwards. Our relationship went on normally after that. There were times that I tried to search the girl through Facebook, but I couldn't find her, maybe because of privacy settings, or so I thought. One day in June, I don't know what cosmic power drove me to look at my privacy settings, and my list of blocked people on Facebook, and lo and behold, I saw the girl's name on my blocked list. I unblocked her, and saw her Facebook profile, and saw my boyfriend liking some of her posts and photos. There were no provocative photos, and some interactions looked friendly, not flirty, so I assumed they were really just friends. But what threw me off was I don't remember blocking her. How could I block her, if technically I didn't know her? I just happened to keep tabs on her after my suspicion back in January. Again, I confronted my boyfriend about it. I told him how I wondered why the girl ended up on my block list, and that it felt weird to me, and looked like a glitch of some sort. He became defensive, and turned the tables on me, that it looks like I don't trust him anymore despite him denying their connection. I took his word for it, and we left it at that, with us sealing our argument with "I love you" over and over. Looking back, my boyfriend, who I didn't think to be that kind of manipulative prick, may have slipped into my phone and put her on my blocked list himself. And up to this day, he hadn't owned up to it. Other people only helped me realize that he might have. We got through that again, and continued with our relationship normally. We were still separated physically because of the lockdown, and his family was extra keen on not letting him out because they were paranoid. During this lockdown, I was the one who visited him at least once a month, and every time I visited him, I made sure to have a negative COVID PCR test before I went to visit him, because I worried that I might catch COVID while I went on hospital duty, and I thought of his family too. We only spent quick times together, about 15 to 30 minutes, and we couldn't even hold hands. We couldn't kiss. And all throughout we both knew we couldn't find a way to have sex, or whatnot. I tried giving him a blowjob in the car, for maybe 2 visits, to make up for the intimacy we couldn't share, because of the time limited to us. We knew we both craved each other, but that's what we agreed to temporarily. After every encounter, we would always part ways with only a quick hug. It sucked, but I reminded him every time that I wanted to respect his family's rules, and he understood. We didn't have any other intimacy for about 6 months, and it was hard. Despite that, ever since we were together, we talked every day, with almost no end at all, no matter how mundane or deep the conversation was. We were never apart virtually despite physical separation. Our fights did become more frequent, and he became easily provoked. There were times he wouldn't message as frequent, because he would be playing computer games for hours on end, which became a point of argument for us too. I tried to understand more, and that maybe it was cabin fever, and he did tell me that he was sorry for treating me like a punching bag, for him being frustrated of not being able to go out and do other things. We got through every fight and argument all the same. I tried to understand him more and console him, since I was the one who was free to go out and had a bit more variety in terms of daily activities compared to him being stuck at home. But then come around mid-October, he offered to break up with me so that he could reflect on himself, because he felt lost and felt that he could not give the same love I was giving him, that he could not exert effort for me at this time, and that he felt frustrated seeing me love him more than he deserved. He felt guilty of not being able to do much for me and wanted to set me free. I felt lost because it was so sudden, and that I didn't even complain about our setup during the lockdown, even though the effort did come mostly from me, for us to be able to work during this time. I loved him so much that it didn't matter to me, and I told him that, but for him it mattered, or so I thought. He said it was better that way, instead of us continuing this way, and we might end up hating each other eventually. I felt so confused after, and I didn't know what I had done wrong, even though I reassured him that our situation was temporary and there was nothing wrong with his efforts with me. That is 80-20 rule again. During our time apart, I talked to his sister whom I was close to and told her to take care of him for me, that he may be suffering from cabin fever and that he is suffering mentally due to the strain of the lockdown. I was so worried about him, and in my heart I hoped we would be able to get through it and eventually get back together when the situation improves and when he gets to feel better about himself. His sister on the other hand had a weird gut feeling that the breakup was too sudden, and she tried to pry him to get to the bottom of our breakup. His other family members were so shocked too, and all of them ended up crying, because for them, they really saw us together until the end. They tried to ask him why, but he couldn't answer them fully. They just saw him depressed at home and avoided talking about what happened. Weeks passed, and I was still so devastated, crying every day, even while on duty at the hospital, trying to figure out what went wrong between us, with my co-workers seeing me trying to keep it together every time. Come November, his sister messages me and told me that she was able to get the truth out of my boyfriend. She was so in shock, so angry, and sad at the same time. My boyfriend confessed to having a one-night stand around the end of July or early August. He could not recall the date. WTF, with the girl I suspected since January, who allegedly drove to their house during lockdown after a fallout with her boyfriend and got my boyfriend to sneak out of the house during the wee hours of the morning and had car sex and went home acting like nothing happened. Mind you, my boyfriend is a night owl, and he sleeps at around 5 or 6 AM after hours of playing computer games, and it was always a habit of him to say, "Good night, I love you," to me around that time, and he never fails to do so. And he was dropped off by the girl around that time when that happened. And I had no idea at all, until his sister finally got it out from him. I screamed in extreme pain when I knew, as if I was being slaughtered alive, and she told me that the girl got pregnant, maybe about 10 to 12 weeks already by that time, if I counted correctly, and he only knew on the day he tried to break up with me. The girl claimed that he was the father despite her having a boyfriend. My boyfriend didn't have the balls to be honest with me until the end, and didn't face me at all after. All of his family got mad at him and were disgusted at what he did. I was repulsed to my core and hurt beyond words could ever define. The day after, that I couldn't go to work, and I immediately packed all the things that he gave me, every little thing, and drove to their house to drop them all off without showing myself to him and his family because they said they couldn't face me. They didn't push him to face me either because we might only hurt each other, and I hated them for that because I deserved the truth and a proper goodbye/closure for him to own up to his mistakes. But instead they tolerated his cowardice. And you know what they did? That day, they brought my boyfriend to the girl's house for him to assure the girl's parents that he would take full responsibility for the child. I felt thrown under the bus and neglected, and there they were supporting the cheating frickers. They expressed disdain and disgust against my boyfriend, but to save face, they supported him in his decision not to face me. And in the end, our last conversation was through text, with him pleading for me not to return the stuff he gave me, because it would break his and his family's heart. He said that he loved me because he felt I was good for him, and that his family loved me so much, he couldn't let go of me because he knew how much I loved him. But you know what he said also? He loved that girl too, because he felt unexplainable happiness with her, and that our relationship lacked something. That he lied to me from the time I caught him, and continued with their affair, despite all the warnings that he got, without anyone in his life knowing. And that he couldn't let me go, because he felt confused. He chose her, especially that they have a child together now. I cursed him, and the girl, and that he should have just come clean the first time I caught them in January. And all throughout he had the guts to act normal to me and his family, reassuring us over and over that he loved me so much that he would never cheat on me. But he fooled all of us, and the girl, she knew about us from the start. What shocked me is that she had a boyfriend all this time, and my boyfriend and her still continued with whatever they had going on. The two craps. And that she wanted to say sorry for what happened. Frick you bleep. And that she knew from the start how much my boyfriend's family loved me. This girl blocked me on all of her social media profiles before all of this crap blew up, and I couldn't search her anymore unlike before. I don't know how, if she was the one who really intended to, or my manipulative boyfriend, who protected her from me. What I couldn't wrap my head around also is that when his family confronted him, after he told them what happened, he told them that I was the one he truly loved, and that he was just lost in the moment with the girl when it happened, that there was nothing going on between them at all. But I had screenshots of all our conversations when he first denied their connection in January, and our next encounter in June, when I talked to him how I unknowingly blocked the girl from my Facebook. I left all the receipts with his sister, and from my suspicion she knew who the girl was too. So imagine her shock also when she came up again, this time with biggest frick up with my boyfriend. My boyfriend's sister and all his family felt how much I loved him, and they knew I loved all of them too with all my heart, because they were his family. And they expressed how they loved me too, and couldn't accept the girl when the crap blew up in our faces. They didn't want him to marry her because they didn't know her, and that they loved me as part of their family too. But by tradition, as their family had to take responsibility for what my fricked up boyfriend did, they had to show support for the pregnancy. And it kills me every day for having to walk away from all of them, seeing them try to save face and support the bleep, and to be thrown away by the one that I loved. Thinking that all this time he had been loving me truly, when in truth he is the worst kind of man any woman could encounter, with how he was deliberate in lying and manipulating his way out, despite being caught and being given the chance to be honest. And all this time he knew how much I loved him, and still went on doing it, despite him being cheated on before, and him knowing the sinking feeling of betrayal that would haunt you for years. When he saw the box of stuff that I returned, he broke down in tears. His sister told me. He texted me afterward, asking me why I still decided to return the things he gave me, especially his letters to me, and the stethoscope, which had a keychain of both our names on it. I didn't want to have any trace of him left with me, and I'm the sentimental type who keeps everything. It hurt like heck to do it, but I felt too repulsed by his memories, no matter how good they were. It felt a little good too, because I wanted to be free of him. And I don't want to remember him at all. Up to this day I cry every day, even though people tell me I was lucky to have dodged that bullet and was not the one who ended up pregnant with such a despicable person who I thought I knew. They tell me that karma is waiting for the girl and my boyfriend to comfort me. I hope so too, but I know I shouldn't think that way. I try to act normally, especially that I have to go on with my life, to go on hospital duty over and over. My colleagues are a big help to me right now, and I told them my story too, and help me get through my trauma each day, listening to me and comforting me every time I break down despite being on duty as a doctor. I reconnected with friends who have been through similar stuff, and they are helping me get through this too. I feel bad for cursing him and the girl, but uttering those words were the worst I was able to do. No matter how much I wanted to hurt them, just to show them the immense pain they had caused. I'm trying to heal day by day, but the feeling of betrayal comes in waves, soaking me every night, and the pain is indescribable, because I couldn't believe I loved and trusted someone like that. How could people like that sleep at night? But in the end, I felt God's presence. That he was the one who pushed me to know the truth, trying to let me know from the first time I suspected my boyfriend. It is true that God kills the romantic connection before it kills you. That gives me chills, but the uncertainty after all of it fogs my vision, wishing that I could be loved truly the way I deserve to be loved, and the thought that they are living normally, looking forward to having a child despite all the deceit. With me suffering like this haunts me to this day. I pray every day that I may be closer to healing, that I may forget everything. They say we should forgive those who wronged us no matter what, but I don't have the strength to do so yet, with so much manipulation and betrayal. How do you heal from something like this? Here's the first comment. Just be thankful only 3 years of your time was wasted on this guy, and you didn't have kids with him. My ex-wife wasted 14 years of my life by having a 4-year affair with a co-worker a year after we got married and bought a house. That betrayal was more than I could handle, and it took me years to get over, but at least we didn't have kids. You will move on and find a much better partner. Just take your time and heal yourself first. Here's the next comment. He's a total loser. You dodged a bullet. Find a hot doctor for yourself. Here's the next comment. You're a single 28-year-old doctor? Yeah, your inbox is about to explode. In any event, try a dating app, and if that's not your thing, then focus on yourself. Heal mentally and emotionally. Get a cat, get a fish, get a turtle. Check out yard sales, not for animals, but just to meet people. Get a gym membership, learn self-defense, take up an early morning cycling class. Do something you normally, or haven't felt like, or have felt, held back from doing, for the past X years. Enjoy your freedom from a low-quality man. Here's the next comment. You lost something, of course, but you can also gain something very valuable. When you're ready to start dating again, and looking for someone to be your partner, you will know what to avoid. You know what it looks like when someone doesn't respect you. Your ex obviously loved you, but he never showed any respect for you. Love is not the most important thing in a relationship. Respect is. Here's the next comment. You sound like an amazing woman, educated, and smart, caring, and lovely, and your man-child ex-boyfriend, who can't get his crap together, is going to be rocked by the reality of having a baby, because it is hard, and expensive, and I don't know how I did it with a marriage, because it is work. You are young, and this will help you find the man you deserve, who deserves you as well. I do believe as well, that God has a hand in all things, even the bad. I had a terrible ex in my 20s, but convinced myself he was the one, and I loved him. Now that I'm in my 40s, I thank God every day I didn't marry that loser. 2020 sucked for everyone, and I wish you happier times in the future. You will make it. Thanks for watching.